Radio Cairo. What's going on? It's life. And that's the road. Life on the road.
Hello everybody, we wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. People are doing their Christmas shopping. They all look happy and in a rush. We have an interview with Dr. Jocelyn Gohary. She's a British Egyptologist who's lived in Egypt for almost 30 years. Hello, Dr. Jocelyn. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Would you tell us about the British customs at Christmas?
Yes, well, there are many, of course, which sometimes vary from one household to another. But traditionally, in the past at least, the Christmas tree was not normally decorated until Christmas Eve. When I was a child, for instance, although my parents would buy the tree perhaps a week before Christmas, it just stood in its pot in the front hall of our house until Christmas Eve. And then when my brother and I went to bed at night, my parents, of course, would then get busy decorating the tree so that when we came downstairs in the morning, there was this wonderful vision of this lighted tree with its fairy doll on the top and all the glistening glass balls and candles and so on. Presents, of course, are laid out around the tree. Usually in Britain, Christmas Day itself, the 25th of December, is traditionally the day on which we invite friends for a meal and distribute gifts, whereas in other parts of the world, in the United States of America, for instance, it's Christmas Eve, the 24th, which tends to be the day for giving presents and people getting together. And of course, apart from the Christmas tree, one of the most important traditions is the Christmas lunch, with the turkey, with all the trimmings, the roast potatoes and the vegetables, the Brussels sprouts and chestnuts and so on, and also the Christmas pudding, a very old tradition, which actually was a savoury pudding originally, and then gradually changed to have dried fruits instead. And if you're lucky, you might get a silver sixpence or a silver charm in your piece of Christmas pudding. For New Year, again, there are traditions which are particular only to Britain and others which are shared throughout the world. New Year is very much a time for people getting out and about. You invite people to your home. You go out in the public squares of the town or city in which you live. There's always a very big gathering, for instance, in Trafalgar Square, one of the main squares in London, where thousands of people stand and wait for the clock on Big Ben, the famous clock tower, to strike midnight. Other people stay at home. They have friends in. On the stroke of midnight, often people go out into the street and they have a few fireworks. Again, this is gradually becoming more common in Britain, although, as a matter of fact, it's a Scandinavian custom which is followed in Denmark and Sweden, and has found its way to Britain now as well. And you can hear also the cars, for instance, sound their sirens. I lived in the port city of Liverpool, so that we used to go and stand outside in the garden at midnight because the ships on the river would all start hooting to welcome in the new year.
I've heard that in England at Christmas or on New Year's Eve, nearly everyone sends cards to friends and relations, and the post office employs extra staff to deliver them all.
Oh, yes, this is very important. Yes, that always, of course, at Christmas time, people like to remember friends, sometimes business contacts, distant relatives whom perhaps they don't send anything to at any other time of the year. But as well as Christmas being a time when you would like to visit and to see people you don't often see, it's also an opportunity to send greetings and best wishes for the new year to a lot of people. So the post office has a great deal more mail to deliver, parcels and cards and so on. And yes, they do employ people for several weeks before Christmas itself in order to try to deliver all of the letters. They have extra deliveries also during the day instead of the normal just 2 deliveries which take place. And this is their main object, is to try to make sure that all the greetings get through in time for Christmas.
Hey, would you tell us about your personal memories with the White Christmas?
Oh, yes. Yes, a White Christmas, of course, has always been something. Every year there are articles in the newspapers in Britain, will it be a White Christmas or not? The weather, of course, worldwide is changing, and it's also changing in Britain, so that you cannot now guarantee a White Christmas, which you could more often 30 years ago, perhaps 30, 40 years ago. And certainly, even nowadays, many of the Christmas cards have pictures of snow-covered villages and snowmen and the birds like the robin with its red breast sitting on a branch covered in snow. And this used to be something certainly which was more or less, you sat and waited and, oh yes, you anxiously on Christmas Eve to see if it was going to snow or not, or even Christmas morning. And many times, when I was a child, it did snow somewhere quite close to Christmas. And so you would wake, of course, to this wonderful white scene. When you woke in the morning, you knew immediately it had been snowing overnight, because it was very quiet, because the sounds would be muffled by the snow. And also there is this strange glow which you don't usually get on a winter morning, but the whiteness of the snow would reflect even what little light there might be, even though it might not be sunny. And so you knew before even you drew back the curtains and saw this wonderful white covered landscape with no footprints, not even birds' footprints on it to begin with. You knew that there'd been snow overnight. And then, of course, immediately you want to put your warm clothes on, your hat on your head and your gloves, and run down and build a snowman. This was the next thing. You'd have to go down and get together, and then, of course, have some fun. Just to keep warm, you have a snowball fight. You make balls of snow and throw them at each other, and generally, have a lot of fun with it.
So how do you celebrate the New Year's Eve here in Egypt?
Well, nowadays, really, I think like many Egyptians, sitting in front of the television, trying to keep warm if the weather is like it has been the last few days. Yeah. In the past, when we were younger, my husband and I either used to go to a party at a club or a hotel, or we did occasionally invite friends in. But, of course, as time goes by, and you have more things to do at home and so on, so that nowadays we tend to stay home and watch the celebrations on the TV. But we also, as soon as midnight chimes, we, like everybody else, you rush for the telephone or the internet to try to send greetings immediately to people. And usually also I get a call from my brother and his family in England, and one of my oldest friends who now lives in Croatia, so that, you keep up the old traditions in the same way by passing on your best wishes as quickly as you can.
Well, what about Father Christmas?
Oh, Father Christmas, yes, is, of course, a very popular character. And what has become very interesting also here is the fact that you can see in this country now that Father Christmas, or Baba Noel, has come to symbolize for all of us, I think, not just Christmas for the Christians, but New Year and the hope of a joyful and successful and let us hope for us to a more peaceful New Year, with this figure who represents happiness and celebration and the joy of just simply being together and being with friends and spending time together and seeing children enjoying their Christmas gifts and so on. So that Father Christmas has become very much, I think, a symbol of hope for the future, really.
It sounds so lovely and interesting. Thank you so much for being with us.
You're very welcome, and all the best once again.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And also to all of you and all your listeners.
Thank you.
Let earth receive her King.
Life on the Road.
With
Hosni.